Uh, is this working? Hello? One, two, yep. Okay, it's working. Welcome back to the Mega Chromecast with Nathan. Um, I am exhausted. I am like running on no coffee. I feel like my bags under my eyes are getting like heavier and heavier. I don't know why I'm never usually this tired. But like it's been a day. Um, I've still got some homework to do and stuff like that. Vocab words. We had like a test today in English, and I passed it, even though I really didn't study for it. Just those common words and stuff like that. And then I wrote a report today, or I wrote some notes down on Jean Jacques Rousseau. I think it's how you say it. I don't. One of the Enlightenment thinkers who basically had the idea of like the social contract and like his main idea was freedom and stuff like that for the people, which is really nice because he's like one of those people you'll never really read about until you read him on your own. And he was a big part of the French Revolution, really cool, and it's just like he had this idea for he didn't like that the rich made laws for the poor, and they wanted the rich were making the laws suitable to their lifestyle, not the poor. So he himself was living as a rich person, but in an unhealthy environment because he wanted to change it to where the government does not have control over the citizens, to where there's enough free will for the citizens, and it will act accordingly to every social class. Basically, like the laws will be challenging for every class, not just one certain class, where it is freedom in all classes and stuff, and everybody has the will of freedom, which was really cool. Because I looked them up in the modern day and stuff like that. I actually want to pull out these notes really quickly. Let me. And I know it's kind of weird, but like we're rolling with it, right? Got my nice little water can over here just in case I get like dry mouth, which is like gonna happen every 5 seconds because I talk a lot on this thing. But again, then again, that's what a podcast is for, right? Just talking for hours on end about random stuff. Speaking of random stuff, apparently Florida's having another hurricane coming right at it, so I don't know what I'm doing for that then, but I can't afford to have another hurricane, man. I can't. Kids are excited about it because they get another month off of school, and apparently it's a meme now, but I'm like, no, I would rather not. I'd rather enjoy my senior year and not waste it, because like then what am I gonna do if I go to my junior year? Just sit there like not knowing what I learned in my freshman year, or sorry, my junior year? Sucks. Okay, I'm trying to make this as clear as. Let me see if I can move this mic a little bit. Okay. All right, there we go. I'm about to talk a little loud because I'm far away from it, but let's see what I wrote today. Uh, ah, okay. So, yeah. Um, God, I'm trying to read my little handwriting. So Rousseau was a Geneva philosopher, writer, and composer. His political. Oh my God! I just dropped my phone. Sorry, I really am out of it. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I'm really out of it today. My desk is full of a bunch of crap that I don't need to be on here. So, writer, his political um, philosophy influenced the progress of the Enlightenment throughout Europe, as well as aspects of the French Revolution and the development of modern political, economic, and educational thought. He was born on June 28th, 1712, Geneva, Switzerland. Died July 2nd, 1778, because he died of a stroke. Nationality, he was Swiss, and he was influenced by John Locke and Baron de Montesquieu, and etc. Basically, the two ones I focused on were Locke and de Montesquieu. Did my Siri really just activate when I said Montesquieu? What? John Locke and Baron de Montesquieu. Okay, I was making sure. I was like, what? It's crazy. Um, yeah, his belief was modern man's enslavement to his own needs was responsible for all sorts of social ills, from exploitation and denomination of others to poor self-esteem and depression. Rousseau believed that the good government must have the freedom of all its citizens as the most fundamental objective. That sounds very confusing in itself. So what I do with my notes is I try to make sure I have the original meaning, and then I try to dumb it down a little bit. So I have like a little chart. So his main thing was social contract. So in the social contract in 1762, Rousseau argues that laws are binding only when they are supported by the will of the people. His famous idea, quote, "Man is born free, man is born free, but he is everywhere in chains," challenged the traditional order of society. Now, I didn't have enough time to look up what that quote means, but like, man is born free, but he is everywhere in chains. In my opinion, when I think of that quote, I think like everyone has, free will when they're born to do whatever they want to do, be whatever they want to be. Certain countries are like that, but in his eyes, man was born free, but he is everywhere in chains. Probably means that in that freedom you have limits and rules, like you have laws, you have rules to abide by, guidelines, all that stuff. That's what I think it means in my opinion. But his main idea was a perfect world was one in which the will of the people was most important. So when he lived in, I'm sorry, I was just gonna make this into like a little history podcast today, I guess. I want to talk about it, just cover a little bit because I took a lot of notes on it today. We didn't talk about it in class. So I figured I'd talk about it here. So yeah, his main idea was perfect world was one in which the will of the people was most important. Let me know if you guys do like this at all, section stuff like that. We can definitely do this more. But so I said he was living in a society. Let me give you a background on what he was. So Rousseau was a French philosopher and a writer, and led a life in the rich contradiction. He lived in an unhealthy garret, but taught hygiene. He wrote about nature, but lived in a crowded Paris. The promoted virtues that he obviously locked. So he put himself in an atmosphere of like how the poor were and all this other stuff. Even though he was a rich man living an unhealthy lifestyle, he knew that in Paris and stuff. When he came to Paris, like it was the rich who were. This is around the French Revolution, so if I can remember my French Revolution class very well, I remember that the top class was the ones making the laws, tennis court, I believe, and all that stuff. So the top class was the ones making the laws, and they had a courtroom, and they did all that with the government and stuff like that. And then I know it's the lower class, but I don't know if the middle class was involved at all. But I remember the lower and middle classes. Someone just slammed a door. I don't know why, but I believe the lower and middle classes were always locked out of those meetings and never were able to show up. So this is around that time where like he explains that the rich decide their laws and what they should live by, even to the laws that suit their own needs, and he sees it as something that could be fixed, or something that he doesn't want to live by, or something that no one should have to live by. Oh shit! Here's a low battery. Let me throw that on the ground and plug that in. Okay. Sorry about that. I don't mean to interrupt and like just go off complete task, but yeah, my computer was about to die on me, so I had to fix that. Move on. Got a bunch of like random, random stuff. Anyways, so yeah, back to him. Um, so inspiration for the social contract, which was the social contract, like I said, was basically leading up to where the society should decide how they live and have a say in the laws of government. When he came to Paris, he became intriguingly aware that ordering society was unjust. The rules were made by the rich to suit their own interests, not those of the common people. So yeah, this is going back into the tennis court situation where they would have the high courts with the rich and the government, and they had more of a say than a poor man would. Let's see what else we have here. So I wrote down what John Locke, Brandy, Montesquieu, and all of them had in common with Rousseau. So these thinkers, Locke, Montesquieu, and Rousseau, all valued religion, science, and tolerance because these were religion and science were the two main things right now. Like Galileo, all this other stuff. This was all happening right now. Like this is where like so many ideas come from the French and stuff about like space time or the government. Like we get most of our ideas from the government, I believe. Most of the ideas inspired for freedom were inspired by these guys from the Enlightenment. Um, Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section, but in what they called natural rights, all developing theories of government in which some or even all the people would govern. So, how did Rousseau's thing change the world? Rousseau impacted governments around the world with his idea of the social contract and the importance of individual freedoms. Rousseau the argued that the and the government argued that the governments form a social contract. The people allow the government to have power over them. They couldn't consist to be governed. So yeah, like it's just a balance of having the people, like how the legislation, judicial, and executive work, right? One branch doesn't have as many power. Executive enforces, legislative makes the laws, judicial reviews them, and all that other stuff. So like one branch does not have power over the other. That's kind of how it is sort of here, in my opinion. It's like the rich, the poor, and the middle class do not have power over one another. They all live in an equal society, but they just have different aspects. Okay, water break because my mouth is literally about to die. We'll never drink a soda on the side. It's only gotta be water. Ugh. Ugh. Okay. So his role in the French Revolution. Rousseau in the French Revolution. The social contract helped inspire political reforms or revolutions in Europe, especially in France. The social contract argued against the idea that monarchs were divinely empowered to legislate, meaning only the people who are sovereign have that all powerful right. What else was there? So, Rousseau was an advocate for direct democracy. This is only the form of government that Rousseau believed would give an expression to humanity's innate freedom and an, autonomy that was enjoyed before the advent of civilization. Rousseau famously stated, man is born free, and everywhere he is in chains. Man is born free and is everywhere in chains." Yeah, and I think that's sort of all. We're all born and free, but we all have chains and stuff we gotta follow. We have certain limits, restrictions we can't go past. Oh yeah. Hey man, I'm just trying to do my best. Um, so we also talked about the proclamation, the Stamp Act crisis, the Townsend Acts, boycotts, Tea Act, Boston Massacre, Tea Act, First Continental Congress, Second Continental Congress, Common Sense Declaration of Independence. It's so crazy. All right, I'm sorry. There's just a bunch of noise going on outside my room. I don't know what is going on out there. Um, but it's crazy how like so much is happening like around this time of like you know um Britain's starting to colonize and French is trying to find a new world and they're trying to do fur trade and it's crazy like these the French have a job to where they're sending 15 to 30-year-old men out to the woods to go hunt beavers with no shower, you're out there for months, just no beer, just hunting beavers with a rifle, not on your own, but it feels like it, and you have to collect like a haystack of beavers, and that's crazy, but it sounds kind of fun in a sense, but also threatening because this is the new world and they're going to be with a bunch of Native Americans and you know how does that all end out? But it's just crazy how like Britain and America